Hello, welcome to Fayette County Public Library Storytime. Today our first story is Enemy Pie. They don't look like enemies there, do they? It should have been a perfect summer. My dad helped me build a tree house in our backyard. My sister was at camp for 3 whole weeks, and I was on the best baseball team in town. It should have been a perfect summer, but it wasn't. It was all good until Jeremy Ross moved into the neighborhood, right next door to my best friend Stanley. I did not like Jeremy Ross. He laughed at me when he struck me out in a baseball game. He had a party on his trampoline, and I wasn't even invited, but my best friend Stanley was. Jeremy Ross was the one and only person on my enemy list. I never even had an enemy list until he moved into the neighborhood. But as soon as he came along, I needed one. I hung it up in my treehouse, where Jeremy Ross was not allowed to go. Dad understood stuff like enemies. He told me that when he was my age, he had enemies too. But he knew of a way to get rid of them. I asked him to tell me how. Tell you how? I'll show you how, he said. He pulled a really old recipe book off of the kitchen shelf. Inside there was a worn-out scrap of paper with faded writing. Dad held it up and squinted at it. Enemy pie, he said. Now you may be wondering, what exactly is an enemy pie? I was wondering too. But Dad said the recipe was so secret, he couldn't even tell me. I decided it must be magic. I begged him to tell me something, just anything. I will tell you this, he said. Enemy pie is the fastest known way to get rid of enemies. Now, of course, this got my mind working. What kinds of things? Disgusting things? Would I put into a pie for an enemy? I brought Dad some weeds from the garden, but he just shook his head. I brought him earthworms and rocks, but he didn't think he needed those. I gave him the gum I'd been chewing on all morning. Ew, he gave it right back to me. What do you think would be an enemy pie?
To make them your friend.
Oh, you think it might make them your friend. So what would you put in there to make them your friend?
Give them the pie.
Oh, just give them the pie. Okay. I went out to play alone. I shot baskets until the ball got stuck on the roof. I threw a boomerang that never came back to me. And all the while, I listened to the sounds of my dad chopping and stirring and blending the ingredients of enemy pie. This could be a great summer after all. Enemy pie was going to be awful. I tried to imagine how horrible it must smell, or worse yet, what it would look like. But when I was in the backyard looking for ladybugs, I smelled something really, really, really good. And as far as I could tell, it was coming from our kitchen. I was a bit confused. I went in to ask Dad what was wrong. Enemy pie shouldn't smell this good. But Dad was smart. If enemy pie smelled bad, your enemy would never eat it, he said. I could tell he'd made enemy pie before. The buzzer rang and Dad put on the oven mitts and pulled the pie out of the oven. It looked like plain old pie. It looked good enough to eat. I was catching on. But still, I wasn't really sure how this enemy pie worked. What exactly did it do to enemies? Maybe it made their hair fall out or their breath stinky. Maybe it made bullies cry. I asked Dad, but he was no help. He wouldn't tell me a thing. But while the pie cooled, he filled me in on my job. That does look yummy, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's just like a plain pie. It looks like I think he just tore a paper and wrote down the recipe of a pie.
He might have. He talked quietly. There is one part of enemy pie that I can't do. In order for it to work, you need to spend a day with your enemy. Even worse, you have to be nice to him. It's not easy, but that's the only way that enemy pie can work. Are you sure you want to go through with this? Of course I was. It sounded horrible. It was scary, but it was worth a try. All I had to do was spend one day with Jeremy Ross. Then he'd be out of my hair for the rest of my life. I rode my bike to his house and knocked on the door. When Jeremy opened the door, he seemed surprised. He stood on the other side of the screen door and looked at me, waiting for me to say something. I was nervous. "Can you play?" I asked. He looked confused. "I'll go ask my mom." He came back with his shoes in his hand. His mom walked around the corner to say hello. "You boys stay out of trouble," she said, smiling. We rode bikes for a while and played on the trampoline. Then we made some water balloons and threw them at the neighbor girls. But we missed. Jeremy's mom made us lunch, and after lunch we went over to my house. It was strange, but I was kind of having fun with my enemy. He almost seemed nice, but of course I couldn't tell Dad that, since he had worked so hard to make this enemy pie. Jeremy Ross liked my basketball hoop. He said he wished he had a basketball hoop, but they didn't have room for one. I let him win a game just to be nice. Jeremy Ross knew how to throw a boomerang. He threw it and it came right back to him. I threw it and it went over my house and into the backyard. When we climbed over the fence to find it, the first thing Jeremy noticed was my tree house. Why do you say uh-oh?
Because his enemy list is up there.
My tree house was my tree house. I was the boss. If my sister wanted in, I didn't have to let her in. If my dad wanted in, I didn't have to let him in. And if Jeremy wanted in, call. We go in it? Can we go in it? He asked. I knew he was going to ask me that, but he was the top person, the only person on my enemy list, and enemies aren't allowed in my treehouse. But he did teach me to throw a boomerang, and he did have me over for lunch, and he did let me play on his trampoline. He wasn't being a very good enemy.
I'd go in there first. Did let him play with his water balloons.
Okay, I said, but hold on. I climbed up ahead of him and tore the enemy list off the wall. I had a checkerboard and some cards in the treehouse, and we played games until my dad called us down for dinner. We pretended we didn't hear him, and when he came out to get us, we tried to hide from him. But somehow he found us. Dad made us macaroni and cheese for dinner, my favorite. It was Jeremy's favorite, too. Maybe Jeremy Ross wasn't so bad after all. I was beginning to think that maybe we should just forget about enemy pie. But sure enough, after dinner, Dad brought out the pie. I watched as he cut the pie into 8 thick slices. Dad, I said, it sure is nice having a new friend in the neighborhood. I was trying to get his attention and trying to tell him that Jeremy Ross was no longer my enemy. But Dad only smiled and nodded. I think he thought I was just pretending. Dad dished up 3 plates side by side with big pieces of pie and giant scoops of ice cream. He passed one to me and one to Jeremy. Wow, Jeremy said, looking at the pie. My dad never makes pies like this. It was at this point that I panicked. I didn't want Jeremy to eat enemy pie. He was my friend. I couldn't let him eat it. Jeremy, don't eat it. It's bad pie. I think it's poisonous or something. Jeremy's fork stopped before reaching his mouth. He crumpled his eyebrows and looked at me funny. I felt relieved. I had saved his life. I was a hero.
Like a superhero.
If it's so bad, Jeremy asked, then why has your dad already eaten half of it? I turned to look at my dad. Sure enough, he was eating enemy pie. Good stuff, he mumbled through a mouthful, and that was all he said. I sat there watching them eat enemy pie for a few seconds. Dad was laughing, Jeremy was happily eating, and neither of them was losing any hair. It seemed safe enough, so I took a tiny taste. Enemy pie was delicious.
I think they were yolky.
After dessert, Jeremy rode his bike home, but not before inviting me over to play on his trampoline in the morning. He said he'd teach me how to flip. As for enemy pie, I still don't know how to make it. I still wonder if enemies really do hate it, or if their hair falls out, or if their breath turns bad. But I don't know if I'll ever get an answer because I just lost my best enemy. So he'll never find out for sure about that enemy pie, will he?
All right, we're going to do a little activity. Miss Kim just read you a book about an enemy, but at the end of the story, was he an enemy anymore?
No.
No, he was what was he?
A friend.
He was his friend. So friend and enemy are opposites, and opposites are words that are totally different from each other. So you guys have some pictures in front of you. I'm going to give you guys 2 words that are opposites, and I want you to look in your pictures and find them and come put them up on the board side by side. All right, so first of all, let's find the sun and the moon. Come put those up next to each other. Those are opposites. There's the sun and the moon. Good job. All right, the next opposite I want you to find is short and long. Where is short and long? Or long and short? Good job, boys. All right, next, let's see if you can find over and under. Over and under.
Found over.
Oh, he's found over.
No.
And Clayton's got under. Good job. Those are
Yay.
different from each other, aren't they?
Yeah.
All right, let's find happy and sad. Which one's happy?
I have sad.
You do.
Why do I have sad all the time?
Those are just opposites, aren't they? We have happy bear and sad bear.
Oh.
All right, we have a couple left. Let's find big and little.
Whoa.
Okay, guys. Excellent job. All right, what about full and empty? That's an opposite. There's full. Where's your empty one, Lynx? You have a jar that's empty.
The other one.
Try the other one. There you go. Full jar, empty jar. Okay. What about top and bottom? All right, let's put them next to each other. Here's the top, there's the bottom. Now, boys, put your last one up and you tell me what the opposite is.
Front and back.
Front and back. Very good.
Yay,
All right.
good job.
So those are all words that are opposites. So, I have a book called What About Moose? Now, in this story, Moose tries to be a friend, but sometimes friends can be a little bossy, right? Do we like bossy friends? Let's see what happens when Moose gets too bossy, okay? What about Moose? Fox met her friends with her toolbox in hand. Time to start building. Now here's what I've planned. She divvied up the jobs and then Moose trotted in. I'm here, he announced. Let the construction begin. Now, was he supposed to be in charge?
No.
No, right? Let's put our hard hats on, he said. Let's get to it. I'll be the foreman. I know how to do it. He's doing some acrobats, isn't he?
Yeah.
Now hold on, said Fox. Let's work as a team. We need you to help with that big, heavy beam. They need help carrying that big, heavy beam, don't they? But Moose made a sign that said, caution, work zone. And he shouted commands from a big megaphone. You guys see the megaphone? Bear, crank the handle, tighten the brace. Toad, keep on standing, pick up the pace. But what about you, Moose? Toad asked with concern. Is the moose helping with this building project? Not really.
Yeah, really.
I'm overseeing, said Mouse, looking stern. He spotted and jotted down all the imperfections while marching around and doing careful inspections. Skunk, put your back into it. Lift up those poles. Porcupine, watch out. You're poking small holes. He spouted and shouted all kinds of advice. Measure correctly. We must be precise. What do you think they're building? Any idea?
I don't know. A tree house.
But what about you, Moose? Fox asked with a glare. You're tromping about, but you're not doing your share. Moose wiped his forehead. I've worked up a sweat. Being in charge is the toughest job yet. Skunk nailed the crossbeams to make the floor strong. But Moose said, not that way, you're doing it wrong. The floor and the door should be just a bit straighter. The porcupine mumbled, who made him the dictator? Oh my. Fox laid the floorboards as Toad manned the drill. Bear did the caulking with his handyman skill. Moose clambered up as they nailed the planks tight. Time for the walls, he said. Now don't take all night. Looks like a pretty good treehouse, don't you think?
Yeah.
But what about you, Moose? You're in the way. Oh, nonsense, said the moose. Just do as I say. A clunkety-punk. Up went one wall. It was complete. Perfect, said Moose. But watch out for my feet. The walls all went up as they hefted and pounded and built around Moose until he was surrounded. Get ready. Now steady. Now listen to me. Lift up the roof when I count. 1, 2, 3. But what about you, Mouse? The Fred said as one. He's inside the house, isn't he? And they're going to put the roof on. Moose said, no more questions. Our work is almost done. Don't worry, just hurry and set it on top. They put it in place, and with a loud bang, it went plop. They put the roof on. And it was too late when the moose hollered, Stop! What happened to poor Moose?
Stuck in the treehouse.
He's stuck inside. Hey, what about me? Moose's muffled voice cried. You built all around me. Now I'm shut up inside. I'll never squeeze out of this tiny front door. See the little tiny door? Yep. What are you going to do? Why are you just standing there? Do you think his friend's just going to let him stay inside?
Yeah.
Yeah? Bear tried to pull using all of his might. It's hopeless, cried Moose. The door is too tight. He groaned and he grumbled. "It's squishing my butt, but we'll help you," said Fox, "if you just keep your mouth shut." Oh no. So here's my idea, and they all huddled near, plotting and planning so Moose couldn't hear. What are they going to do? How are they going to get him out?
I don't know. Get him out.
With thumping and bumping, they worked around Moose, and soon they were ready to set their friend loose. And a push and a smudge and a pop back inside. Oh wow, it's a trap door, and he zipped down the slide. Then Fox named a game that the friends could all play. But what about Moose? He played it their way. Do you think he learned his lesson? Yeah, but wasn't that cool? They made a trap door.
Yeah.
I love this story. Isn't that great? So Moose learned to be a friend, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yes, he did. All right.
So we've heard about two people trying to be friends.
Third one trying to be friends. Yeah.
Have you ever heard of the purple kangaroo?
It's upside down.
But the book is upside right.
Because, and the monkey is hanging down from the tree. Like
The
this.
purple kangaroo. Alrighty. Hey kid, guess what? I've got a super secret, highly unusual, incredible, and amazing magical power. I can read minds. It's true. In fact, I can read your mind. I want you to close your eyes and think of something. What kind of something? Oh, something spectacular. I want you to think of something so spectacular that nobody has ever thought of it in the entire history of thinking about things. Got it? Have you got your spectacular thing in your mind?
Yeah.
Great. Now, say what it is out loud. Don't worry, I can't hear you. I'm just a picture in a book. And now, drum roll please. And now I will use my super secret, highly unusual, incredible, amazing, and slightly alarming magical powers. It's a mind reader.
No.
Think he can read your mind? Ooh, look into my eyes. Look deep into my eyes. Concentrate. Wait, I see something. It's becoming clearer and clearer. Got it!
Got it.
You were thinking about a purple
No.
kangaroo.
No.
No? You weren't thinking about a purple kangaroo? Well, that's strange. Do you mean to tell me that you weren't thinking about a purple kangaroo looking for his best friend, a wild-eyed chinchilla named Senor Ernesto Pantalones? No?
That's too weird. No one would just think about that.
While wearing roller skates?
No. Not even close to a banana. It's not a...
So in the course of his search, this purple kangaroo, whose name I would like you to now provide, didn't find 5 fragrant bananas? No? Which he then juggled while blowing an enormous rainbow bubblegum bubble out of his nose?
Does he have a mouth? Yeah. Does he?
Yeah, he has a mouth. There it is.
Yeah, but then he should have used his mouth.
No, he's tricky. And that a crowd of excited onlookers, upon seeing this astounding trick, didn't shower? Insert the name of the purple kangaroo here. What's his name? What's his name? With gold coins? They didn't shower him with gold coins? You weren't
One
thinking
coin.
about that? Are you sure you weren't thinking about that?
Have you seen?
Have you seen Ernesto?
Yeah.
Which he then used to hire a giant paisley blimp, thus furthering his
there.
search for his very best friend, the wild-eyed chinchilla, Senor Ernesto de
Look
Pantalones.
at that. Look at that. He's in the corner. You can see him at every page. Look, he's on the moon. He's
On the moon? Have you seen him?
Have you seen? Wow, that hot air balloon went to the moon. How did that happen? How did that happen?
Are you really going to sit there and tell me that you weren't thinking about a banana juggling, roller skating, hula hooping, rainbow bubblegum, nose blowing, paisley patterned blimp floating, wild-eyed chinchilla Senor Ernesto de Pantalones searching purple kangaroo on the moon? Really?
That's just way too crazy.
Well, guess what? You're thinking of one now.
No fair. No fair. That's for sale.
See, I told you I could read your mind. In fact, I'm so good. I bet if you go back to the start of the book, I could do it again.
Because he's. Let's do it. Do it again and again and again. Let's do it.
Oh, me. He kind of tricked you, didn't he? A little bit there.
Yep.
Have you ever tried to do that, read somebody's mind?
No. Yeah, like Superman.
No, I don't think, I can't do that.
Yeah, like.
So we had the story of the enemy pie. What were the opposites in this story?
Enemies.
Enemies and...
Pies. Pies. Floating in space.
At first, Jeremy was his enemy, and
Yep.
then he was his
Friend.
friend.
Look at.
Isn't
look
a
at-
friend the opposite of an enemy?
Yeah. Look at the pie. It looks like it has dirt and weeds
Well,
and worms coming
well, that was his version of the pie, but that's not the kind his dad made, remember?
Yeah, but it looks just like a dirty, messy pie.
And then in Miss Lisa's story, what about Moose?
He was bossing everyone around. Yeah.
Is it possible to be a good friend and be so bossy?
No.
No, I don't think so either. So he was almost an enemy in that story. And then we had all these opposites. So we just want you to think about that and see if you can find some opposites when you're out moving around, looking at different
Yeah.
things, like white and black or round to square, and I don't know what else kind of opposites we can find. But want you to know that there are lots of opposites in our world, and it's a lot of fun to think about those and match them up, just like we did on the flannel board here. So we just want to remind you that down at the library we'll have a little packet of activities, and since our theme today was opposites, the packet of activities will be about opposites, and we just trust that you will come by and pick that up. And we've had a great time today with you here at Storytime, and so we want to say
Bye.
goodbye.